Adivasi is the earliest inhabitant of the land. But in most places, the march of progress has left him far behind. All too often, he has been the victim of oppression and exploitation. 60 kilometers from Navsari, however, in the sleepy hamlets around Vansda, hugging the deep valley that forms part of the Gujarat-Maharashtra border, a man-made miracle is now unfolding. Here, the tribal inhabitants, the Kolchas, Kuknas, Kotwalias, Naikas, Warlis, and Dodias are engaged in a program that will change their destiny. The main idea underlying the program is best expressed in the words of its preceptor, Dr. Manibhai Desai, a close associate of Mahatma Gandhi.
Gandhiji gave us a message, not only a message but a program to find out solutions to tackle the ticklish problem of underemployment in rural India. We identified 4 elements: land, livestock, water, vegetation. We have established meaningful relationship of these natural resources with the rural poor.
The tireless efforts of these tribals transformed the barren brown slopes into lush green terraces thick with fruits and foliage. However, the tribals have not forgotten their gloomy past. Exploitation by outsiders and steady eroding of resources for long characterized the tribal tracts of Vansda. Though the area receives plentiful rainfall, most of it runs down the valley unchecked, leaving behind an acute water shortage and exposing an eroded landscape. It was an empty day-to-day existence. There was no tomorrow. Faced with a meaningless life, the tribals took to drink, not for pleasure, but to forget. The dependence on dirty pond water resulted in innumerable skin diseases and stomach ailments. Survival was a hand-to-mouth struggle. It was a clash between ecology and existence. Finally, with heavy heart, the Adivasi family would migrate to nearby prosperous tracts, hoping to earn at least subsistence wages. It was a vicious cycle. But in 1982, the Bharatiya Agro Industries Foundation initiated an integrated development program. The government of Gujarat allotted 1 acre of wasteland each to landless and marginal families. The District Rural Development Agency provided wage and material support. The Adivasi joining the program was required to abstain from liquor and appreciate the importance of timely work. But repeated oppression by outsiders had made the tribals skeptical and suspicious. The initial response was slow and hesitant. Only 42 families joined the program. Work began on the barren wastelands. The tribals were taught how to make and use a simple device called the A-frame. With the help of the A-frame, contour lines were marked on the slopes, followed by trenching and bunding to conserve soil and moisture. Under the Usufruct scheme, the land remained with the government, but the produce went to the tribals. The National Wastelands Development Board came forward to provide financial support to develop these wastelands into productive plantations, locally known as wadis. In order to protect the new plantation, the plots were fenced using low-cost live hedge. The tribal belt had no assured irrigation. It was important to retain rainwater and put it to extensive use. The program hit upon a simple solution: plugging the nallas with sandbags immediately after the monsoon. A perennial wastage was blocked. Land surveys were followed by design and installation of small-scale lift irrigation schemes in large numbers. A pump set was installed at every bund. The water flowing in the nallas was thus carried to each plot managed by the tribals. But in their struggle to develop their productive assets and stand on their own feet, the Adivasis had to encounter opposition from local vested interest groups. The nurseries, so lovingly put up, were trampled.
અમે પાઇપલાઇન કરેલી તે અમારી પાઇપલાઇન પણ તોડી નાખી.
The newly laid pipelines were slashed during the night. But refusing to be discouraged, they kept on their efforts. Eventually, the people triumphed. Simultaneously, a scheme for providing drinking water through bore wells was initiated at each village. Village youth were trained in the installation and maintenance of hand pumps. Thus, any breakdowns could be dealt with locally. Suavely is an age-old tribal practice which honors a woman's right to her earnings. Appreciating the wisdom of this tradition, a number of income-generating activities were introduced. Manibhai Desai, who conceived this novel scheme, puts it thus.
While walking with the rural poor, and particularly with tribals, we have always to see that we design special programs for women to provide them with adequate livelihood.
The task of raising nurseries was therefore entrusted to the women. While providing thousands of seedlings for future plantation, the program also yielded a ready and much-needed additional income. On an average, each tribal woman raises 3,000 saplings every year. As a result of the multifaceted scheme, the dream of greening the wastelands has begun to come true. The adjoining non-Adivasi areas are lush with mango orchards, something the tribals always wanted but never had. Therefore, mango was their first choice. But purchasing graftings of good variety was costly. It was decided to teach the tribals how to develop their own nursery. Used to working with nature, the tribals quickly picked up the fine technique of grafting. With the onset of the monsoon, the Adivasis planted the saplings. These hardy inhabitants would climb the hills every day to water the saplings. Mulching plays a vital role in retaining soil moisture. The labor is spread over the seasons, and the benefits accrue all through the year. While all the tribals have learnt the finer points of fruit and vegetable cultivation, the program encourages them to retain their traditional occupations too. Take the Kotwalias, for instance. Traditionally, the menfolk brought headloads of bamboo from the forest. Often, they were caught by forest officers and jailed. Today, the Kotwalias have begun to grow bamboo themselves. program has inculcated a sense of pride. Assured of raw materials, the quantity of work has increased. Thanks to skills acquired through training, the quality and variety of products have both improved. Traditionally, the tribals owned nondescript, low-yielding cows. Few could afford a gir cow. Now, with successful crossbreeding, milk yield has gone up manifold. The once rock-filled plot of Challubhai is now shaded with 3,000 trees. The timber will fetch him a fortune. Gasifiers, fueled by wood shavings and coupled with diesel pump sets, serve to lift water up the hillocks into remote fields. From being rootless, wandering nomads, the Adivasi has become a full-fledged cultivator. Looking back, Manibhai Desai comments on the success of the program.
We have been able to establish confidence in the minds of tribals that they can turn the degraded, barren hill slopes into lush green orchards.
To the tribals, sickness was a sign of divine displeasure. Invariably, they turned to the local bhagat for a remedy.
આપણે જોવું જોઈએ કે જે બાળક જન્મ્યું એ જીવી જાય એટલું જ નહીં પણ તંદુરસ્ત જીવન જીવે.
A program supported by UNICEF enabled BAIF to provide both preventive and curative health care at each doorstep. One woman from each village was trained as a health worker. It would be her duty to ensure that sick tribals attended the weekly health camp. She would also motivate the Adivasis to take up timely vaccination and proper child care. The health program has gained greater acceptance because it runs parallel with a program for improved livelihood. All these areas were once a wasteland. The program of agroforestry was aimed at two goals: of providing year-round self-employment and putting a stop to migration. Forest trees, fruit trees, and food crops make a three-tier cropping pattern. The result of this varied intercropping has been bountiful. Once the crop is ripe, it is harvest time, and there is lots to do. Today, the grain stocked in each hut is a comforting sight. The tribals have their own rituals to celebrate the harvest. Care was taken to see that their traditional customs and culture were not disturbed. A good harvest marks fulfillment, and the Adivasis dance in joy. Part of the success of the project has been the result of fusing the new with good things of the old. The successful incorporation of the traditional Wavli system is an example of this outlook. The main objective is not merely to provide sustainable livelihood, but to ensure quality of life blended with value system. Today, sitting amidst his fruit trees and forest plantation, the tribal resident of Vansda makes for a happy picture. With customary simplicity, Manibhai Desai sums up the essence of the experiment.
The question is not just of planting a seed or a tree. It is planting hope in the minds of the rural poor.
The weekly market is now a time for joy. Not only do the Adivasis know how to spend money, they also know how to save it. Well-stocked kitchens now gleam with prosperity.
આ એક સુધારેલો ચૂલો છે. આ ચૂલાની અંદર આપણે જે બળતણ બાળીએ છીએ, બળતણ ઓછું બળે આપણું, ધુમાડો નહીં થાય અને સમયની અંદર આપણો બચાવ થાય.
Training in making smokeless chulas has helped the tribal woman improve kitchen hygiene. The Adivasis have also learnt the value of a balanced diet. These are the first fruits of a silent revolution. Today, the wadi is lush with high-quality mangoes. The benefit has reached thousands of Adivasi families. The long hours of tireless effort have finally and literally borne fruit. Wadis for the old, Balwadis for the young. Material well-being has, for the first time, thrown open the doors to all-round development. At kindergartens established in many villages, Adivasi children learn the basic rudiments of counting and reading. No longer will they be duped by the moneylender or trader. Education is a source of knowledge for young and old. Why need nights be dark when nature is willing to help? Solar lights have transformed the village life. Under the thrust of multi-pronged development, the outside world has suddenly become accessible to the remote forest dweller. The participants were persuaded to open a bank account. Their wages were directly credited into these accounts. The banking habit has not only helped introduce an attitude of saving, but also kept the middleman away. The Ayojan Samiti, consisting of participating families, plans and monitors the programs at every stage. This helps to motivate the tribals to think for themselves. Problems are thus solved at the local level. To ensure maximum returns from the land, a number of new activities have been introduced. Sunflower cultivation is one such project. So is beekeeping. With a view to taking advantage of the flower-laden surroundings, youngsters have been encouraged to gain scientific training in beekeeping. As Adivasis have given up drinking, the maua flower, once used in distilling liquor, is now a food supplementary. Besides, the seed provides oil for the family and oil cakes for the cattle. Systematic rearing of rabbits found in this area has proved an additional source of income. The success of this coordinated effort brings hope that such programs may be replicated elsewhere. In the words of Manibhai Desai,
the orchard created by him must be his own, even if the land may not belong to him. The Adivasi should not be employed as an employee. He alone is the master of the whole show.